And of course, Clemson reigns in college football right now with a thrilling win over Alabama in the national championship game. Deshaun Watson, of course, moving on, along with a wealth of wide receiver talent, as typically is the case, and defensive line talent at Clemson. But it's going to be another stellar class. No, maybe it's not in the top 5 of the nation, but it's not too far behind. So Cody, your thoughts about Clemson's class at this point?
It's a really efficient class. It's a good class. Only 13 total recruits at this point, maybe 14 at the most. Not a lot of late drama going on. But the per star, or the average star rating of the class, nets out to the 3rd overall, just behind Alabama and Ohio State. So a lot of talent in those 13 recruits. It's when you get to a class that's this small, you have to address needs, and I think Clemson's done that at the quarterback position with, like you said, Deshaun Watson's departure. They have Hunter Johnson, a 5-star, I guess widely considered the best quarterback in the nation, and he's already on campus, so he's going to contend for that open starting position. And then you mentioned the wide receivers. So we did lose Mike Williams, and we're losing Artavis Scott to the NFL, but we're plugging in a 5-star T. Higgins, who in the wide receiver, we call it wide receiver U at Clemson. I think with guys like Sammy Watkins, Duke Hopkins, I think T. Higgins kind of falls in that same mold in terms of just raw talent. So not a large class again, but a good class and fits a lot of needs.
Yeah, and you put it into context, what's knocking this rating down as 14th in the country right now, according to 24/7 Sports. It's only 13 commits, but the quality is outrageous. One of the few programs in the country that looks to be bringing in multiple 5-star recruits, and 8 of the 13 are 4-stars. That defensive front is ridiculous and has been for the last 3 or 4 years, and probably gets understated in the shadow of the wide receiver play and the quarterback play over the last few years. But all you have to do is watch the NFL Combine and see how many guys line up at D tackle and D end in particular from Clemson over the last few years. And I know that you lost 8 or 9 starters from the previous team in 2015 and still won the national championship. How does the defensive side look as well?
Yeah, so the defensive line, luckily, you mentioned, you alluded to it. We had a lot of success in the Fiesta Bowl against Ohio State. Our defensive line was definitely a strong point. Most of those guys are returning. So we only had one defensive lineman, one defensive end, Jordan Williams out of Virginia, who has a chance to hit the 2 deep, a really talented player. But overall, I think in terms of the recruiting class, the kind of area of need was in the secondary. We were losing Tank Risley at cornerback and Jadar Johnson at safety. So we're going to slide in a guy named A.J. Terrell. He's one of the 3 5-stars, the other 5-star in this class. Just a heck of an athlete. Has track speed, like 4.3, 4.4 type speed. 6'2", one of those rangy cornerbacks that the NFL loves so much. So we're gonna fit him in. We suspect he'll be able to hit the 2 deep and hopefully add some punch to an area of need for the 2017 squad.
Dabo Swinney has not only gone outside the box, he's basically taken the box and torn it up and thrown it away in terms of the approach of college football coaching and building a community of family there at Clemson. It's pretty impressive to watch, and he shows that you can gain and build relationships with these players and still win at the highest level. And the teams and programs that he has left in his path, not just this season, but over the last few years, you're looking at a string of national champions and elite programs there at Clemson. So Cody Fowler joining us from the Clemson Pawcast. Join his podcast right there. It's ClemsonPawcast.com as well. Cody, we appreciate you jumping on, and hopefully we can have you back extremely soon, meaning maybe next week if you got the time, next Wednesday night, and wrap up this stellar class for the Tigers.
Sounds good. Thank you, Mark.